Hey, good morning guys. Tush coming at you. Friday, April the 7th. And what a difference a day makes. We're seemingly back to winter this morning. Got a pretty heavy snowfall. And trust me, the snow is very heavy. I was looking at my trees around the side of the house. And they're all bowed over, so I'm going to have to go over there and give them a smack with a broom, I think, just to upright them. So yeah, we weren't looking forward to this. Weren't really expecting this. It's definitely pretty. And a little drifting over here. I gotta get into the garage. Check my cedar hedge out. It's seen better days. So I'm gonna go out there and try to stand those back up once I get myself into the garage. And it's extremely windy if you can hear the wind blowing. See, my apple tree back there is all covered. Anyway, we'll bring you back. Problem is, I don't even have the heat on in the garage. I've actually packed the heater away, so it's going to be pretty darn cold in here because it's just above about 1 degree Celsius, I think. Alright, we'll come back. Alright, we're in. Yeah, we definitely need this to get warmer in a hurry because it's absolutely destroying my cedar hedge in the back of the house or at the side of the house. They're all bent over, they're all iced, and it's heavy, heavy snow. So if they stay too long bent like this, they'll actually shape like that. So we need it to warm up really quickly. So otherwise these are going to be ruined, and I don't want that. That's my privacy fence basically. Towards my next door neighbor's yard. So anyway, not good. Wasn't expecting this morning. Anyway, not much I can do about it except complain. Alright guys, nice little drift coming off the roof up there. Alright, back to the garage. First thing I'm going to do this morning is do a bit of a garage cleanup and pick up all my tools that I've got laying around. I was missing one wrench that I couldn't find last night and it was driving me crazy. Still haven't found it, so we're going to pick up all these tools and put them back where they should be, and then we'll get a fresh start at it later this morning. Alright guys, so we've had a bit of a cleanup, and now we can feel a little bit better about getting back underway on taking stuff off the car. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove that windscreen washer motor, which is just here. So that actually has a couple of fixings on the inside of the bulkhead. There's two nuts here. I don't know if you'll be able to see those. There's one there, one there. So we're going to remove those, and that should be able to lift the motor away. We will have to undo the cabling to the steering rack. These are the wiper wheel boxes here. We'll have to actually get access to those as well. So we'll be getting into those little babies shortly. Alright, so this is the wiper motor, and it's going to be a little difficult to remove. I do have the all the fasteners unattached from inside the car, and I've got to take this big nut out in order to get the cable out, but the cable needs to be lifted out of a slot, which means I got to get the plate off the top. So if you can see those little screws there, those have to come out. There's also some screws all the way back under there. So those are going to be a bit of a challenge. So maybe I can just pop those front two off and lift it enough to get the cable out, and then I'll be able to get the actual motor out. So anyway, we'll give her a shot. We'll do the best we can. I'm pretty sure I'm doing this right. I don't see any other way to do it. It's just really tight in there. Alright guys, we'll come back. Alright, figured it out. Once you release that cable nut up there, you can actually bend the cable enough to move it out so you can actually access those two little set screws at the back there. So we're just going to pop that top off, we'll lift the cable out and lift the motor out. Alright guys, there's a look of the wiper motor with the top off, and you can see of course a bunch of dried grease in here. So what we've got to do now is we've got to remove this arm to release the cable. So that requires that this piece here be carefully removed. This is the little contact strip that contacts here on the cap. So we've got to be careful, remove that, and then we should be able to remove this plate, lift that up out of the way, and then release the cable. So that's what we're going to do now. So there it is out on the bench, and here are the little pieces that you need to remove. There's actually a little bit of a lock washer, I don't know, a locking plate, and then the contact piece, and then the arm. So there it is removed, and you can see all the dried grease in there, and that what contributes to a lot of these wiper motors actually running very slow or overheating, is that grease is just so heavy and thick from all the years being in there. It's just, you know, sometimes it's just a good idea to go in there and just clean all that stuff out and put fresh grease in it. You'd be surprised how good it works. Anyway, so that's out. So we've got another bit more space here to work with. So there's the rack cable end just sitting there. So we'll continue on. I'm probably going to remove some relays, maybe a fuse box, and go towards the front of the car. So it's always nice to have the right tools for the job, and sometimes you need to have something handy to make it a little easier for you to do your task at hand. So it's having problems with these little studs here. They're little nuts on these studs that hold the relays on, both relays on. Now, it's not nutted on the other side, it's actually got a head on it, and I couldn't determine whether it was a slotted, a Phillips, or a Robertson head, because there are sort of miscellaneous fasteners on this car. So I originally was going to go and try to find a stubby slotted head, then that wasn't working, so I was getting a little bit frustrated. So then I thought I'd better grab my little dental mirror, and you know, we can now see that that's actually a Phillips screw under there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, you can probably see it there. So now I've got my little stubby Phillips wrench out, and we'll attack it with that. So right tool for the job, makes things a lot easier. Alright guys, we're back in the passenger side footwell, and we're just trying to get the dip switch disconnected. And here is the plug that I'd mentioned for the main harness to rear harness. So we're going to unplug that. As you notice, I've also removed the kick panel here, so a little bit of rust down in here. Doesn't look overly bad, but we'll get the shop vac out and clean that up a little bit as well, and see what we got left after we get it cleaned up. Definitely been some repairs done in here as well, but anyway, it doesn't look too bad. We'll come back. Alright guys, we're making progress on removing the wiring harness. We've decided to move it out through the engine bay, and the reason I've done that is that means I can just keep all of the you know, the fuse box and all the relays intact, and we can always trace those back wire-wise when we go to a new harness. So I'm just going to keep working my way forward. We've got pretty much most of the connections up to the headlights need to come off, and across the front of the car needs to be undone as well. But we're almost there, so we'll give you an update when we've got it completely out. Alright guys, the wiring harness is now out of the car, and there's one particular area I just wanted to show you. So obviously this harness has seen some heat. So we've got basically melting of the insulation right off the wires on the inside of this. So I'm sure you had some electrical issues with this car, and you can see back all the way to here, and some melting there on the big brown circuit. So yeah, had some issues. Anyway, we managed to get it out with keeping most of the labels intact. Some of them tore off coming through the firewall, but not too bad actually. Better to have you know, 90% of them. Anyway, that's it for now, so we'll give you a shot of the cleaned up car in just a minute. And we also removed the rear harness from the car now, so it's significantly smaller than the main harness. I've already got a brand new one of these, so this will not see the light of day again, but we'll stick it in the box with the main harness, and we'll get back to it eventually. Alright guys, we've had a bit of a vacuum and clean up, and it's not looking too bad in most parts. I'll show you the floor quickly. It's nice to actually have a floor. It's unusual for me to actually have a floor in a car, from the beginning anyway. So it's a little rusty, but fairly solid. Got something to work with anyway. So as mentioned, if required, I do have new floors over there, and I do have new inner and outer sills over there, so we'll see if we need those or not. Going back to this area, I see a bit of a dodgy repair down here, and this is below where the clutch and brake master are, and of course it's probably rotted out from all the .3 sitting on it over the years. So somebody's actually brazed a really poor patch in there, and you can see some holes around it, so from where I vacuumed out all the leaves and debris that were sitting down on top of it, so that will have to be repaired. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad. So I think the next steps for me will be to remove the rest of the steering rack, and again we'll continue on removing things like the distributor and the coil and the alternator. We'll remove this PDWA, part of the braking system, and we'll just keep going forwards towards maybe towards the rad. Alright guys, just a little update guys before I get too far ahead without you. So I'll just go through the parts we've taken off the car. So that's the clutch master hard line. That's the engine ground and positive battery, negative battery cable. We got the bottom steering shaft out. We've got the PDWA out for the brake system. We've got the alternator out. Obviously you saw the wiper motor already. We've got the coil out. We've got the fuel line out running from the fuel pump to the Webers. We've got the oil feed to the head out. We've got the distributor out. That's another piece for the carburetor. That's the inlet pipe. So that pretty much takes care of what I've taken out of the car. I'll give you a quick look. It's getting pretty bare in here. So I'm just pretty much taking anything off that will get potentially caught on the body when I'm taking the body away from the chassis. So I'm not going to take the whole engine out. I'm just going to leave that in there and lift the body out over the top of it. So this side is looking pretty good. Obviously I need to take out actually the accelerator shaft can probably stay. The only problem is it usually hooks the back of the head. So we'll see. I haven't decided on that yet. So we're going to keep moving forward like I'd said. I think we're going to take a bit of a break first though. I think we'll probably get the radiator finally drained and maybe we'll work on getting that out. We'll take the horns out, probably the headlights out, and then we'll move around to the other side and take those Webers off at some point. Alright guys, we'll come back in a bit. Another have the right tool discussion. So this is going to be a challenge to get that Phillips screw out of that Weber filter. There's not much room here. You can't get a stubby in. You can't even get a ratcheting. That's too long. So basically we're going to go with one of these guys and we'll be able to get that in there. Just barely, but enough to get it off. So again, having the right tools makes it easy. So at some point we're going to have a discussion about whether we want to modify this inner fender to enable us to get a little bit more room to get a filter and probably some velocity stacks on these Webers. So we'll think about that and modify if required. So we managed to get the radiator out, and we managed to cut off that passenger side hood hinge. Les is actually working on getting the horn brackets out, which are a bit of a pain in the butt. And I'm going to work on taking the seats out. So of course the very last bolt that we try to get out of the floor track is seized actually, or spinning basically, and its cage nut on the bottom of the floor. So that will entail us going underneath the car and grinding that off from the bottom of the car to be able to get that track out. But the other one came out successfully, so that's good. As mentioned, the seats are out already. So I think we're running out of jobs to do at the front of the car. So one of the ones that's left is to remove the Webers. So I think we're going to go ahead and do that. So we will start taking the bolts off the intake and exhaust and see if we can get that out without too much hassle. Alright guys, we'll come back. Well, the Webers are off. But my God, that was a test of patience. You see that little bastard there and that little bastard there, they are almost impossible to get to. So, you know, 1/8 of a turn at a time from underneath. Oh my God. Can't get a socket on it because of the header being in the way. So, yeah, anyway, it's off. We may think of a different route to go when we put them back on. So there's the big hole where they were. And here they are on the floor. It may be better for me to actually detach the manifold from the actual carbs and do it that way, but we'll see. They're off anyway, so next thing to do is to get those two remaining studs out with the footballs on them, and then maybe we'll go underneath and see if we can detach the pipe from the header, and then we'll take the header right off the car. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how she goes. Alright guys, just been doing a little bit of cleanup for the last little while. I've got the seat tracks both out now. I had to go under the car and unsees a captive nut on the bottom of the car. Couldn't get one of the tracks out, but it's out now. So we pulled the carpet and vacuumed the floors to the best we can. We haven't done any wire brushing yet, but there you can see how the floors look. They actually don't probably look too bad. That's just a lot of surface rust, I think. We'll have to check a little further up in the footwells to see how we're doing, but for the most part it looks pretty good. So yeah, cleaned up the bulkhead a little bit as well. I'm going to take that solenoid off, but other than that it's looking pretty bare. So we've had a good day in the garage, that's to be sure. So we're going to probably disconnect the parking brake. We'll probably take the transmission tunnel off. We'll take out the remaining carpet pieces. We still need to get the windscreen out eventually. Les really wants to get the front fenders off for some reason. That's a goal for Les. So we'll probably end up starting to take the fenders off, possibly even tonight. If Les stops by, he'll probably want to get the fenders off tonight. So you know what, if he wants to help, all power to him. As long as he doesn't destroy anything, we're all good with that. So not probably quite done for the evening, but I just wanted to give you a quick update. So parts are rapidly collecting in this little area over here, so we're going to have to clean that out at some point and get that organized and tucked away so we can have a nice clean garage when we go and separate the body from the chassis, which shouldn't be too much longer from now. Alright guys, that's a quick update for you. We'll be back a little bit later on. Alright, we have the rear shelf carpet out now, and got a couple of interesting spots of rust. There's a little piece that's starting and a significant piece here. So it's kind of interesting. That actually turns out that it's right behind the bump stop. So it's actually not a through hole. I think it's right in behind this pocket for the bump stop, so that's kind of interesting. I've never seen anything rust there before, but there must be a moisture getting in there somehow. So anyway, that doesn't look to be like it's going to be too difficult to repair. So, but quite a bit of rust pouring out of there. Anyway, so I'll give you a quick update on that. Well, I guess we'll continue on. It's still fairly early at night. I think it's only about 8 o'clock, so I think what we'll do is we'll attempt to get this fiberboard transmission tunnel out. It's one of my least favorite jobs. Actually, it's probably not too bad getting it out. It's a bitch to get them back in. So anyway, we'll give that a shot and see how we do. And we'll probably just walk away if we get frustrated and call it a night. But we'll see how it goes anyway. Alright guys, last update of the night. We did manage to get the transmission tunnel out, and of course there was one stubborn bolt that wouldn't come out, so a grinder fixed that. So there you go. There's the A-type overdrive, and that mystery is actually, and I don't know if this is stock, and I don't believe it is stock, but it is actually, I guess technically a fill port, and it's a dipstick. So I know early cars, like I'm talking my TR3, my 59 TR3 has a dipstick, but not in this location. So I don't know. Some of you guys will have to jump in here and tell me if you've seen one like that before. I think that's a custom job, but we shall see. We'll hear. Anyway, I think we're going to call it a night. So I'll give you the end of day update. I do have a couple more items to add to the bin. We've removed the handbrake in order to get the tranny tunnel out, and here's the list over here. Got to add a few things to it actually before we close the night out, but here we go. Friday, April 17th, T-minus 163. Pretty big list tonight. And all the bags. And like I said, we have a few more to add. Not major stuff. Seat belts, the handbrake, the transmission tunnel mounting bolts, And I think that's pretty much about it. And I'll add those to the list and we'll call it a night. So we'll get back out here tomorrow, guys, for a full day. And hopefully we'll get a little closer to getting the body off of this. We're pretty close now. We're going to start taking fenders off. I still didn't get the headlights out, so I mean they don't need to come out to get the body off, but I want to take them out anyway. So that'll probably be what I do first tomorrow, is get those headlights out, and then we'll start removing fenders and we'll start removing body bolts as well. Alright guys, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.